Bitcoin solves world problems. Like you are getting essentially money into the hands of people that can't go to a bank. They don't have access to a bank, but they have access to an internet, right? You're allowing people that have never had the opportunity to participate in economy, the opportunity to participate.
Hi, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. Alex Kaminer here with Tim Nihill, our founder, and Alex Krieger, our digital asset analyst and a resident crypto expert. We're here to talk about what is happening in the traditional and digital marketplaces and share the news that we hear on the street. We help translate what's happening in the financial markets so people can use it in their day-to-day lives and make sharper financial decisions. For today's topics, Tim and Alex will be talking about the normal stocks, bonds, cash, and real estate markets and the traditional markets. We're also going to continue to talk about the FTX and what the outcome of that has been recently. And then we're going to also talk about this digital dollar pilot program that the New York Fed has instituted. If you have any questions, please comment below. And if you enjoy the content, please like, share, and subscribe. Tim, off to you with the traditional markets.
Awesome. Hello, everyone out there. It's I would say it's the calm before the storm. If you're looking at the S&P 500, the Dow, just most of the markets across the board have been in the green over the past week and a half. NASDAQ technology has recovered a little bit. It's still been the watch the Fed program and how everything is tied to the dollar. So the dollar's dropping a little bit in terms of its strength, and you're seeing things go up. That's about it. So we just think from all the information that we're getting and we're seeing and coming across, I think Q1 2023 is going to be very, very interesting. If you're looking to deploy some capital, there may be some buying opportunities. I would look into the biotechnology space. Pharmaceuticals are really, really interesting, right? Because you wonder what is going to happen with, I would say, the reemergence of possible COVID in 2023, another winter, and what happens there. So you would think that vaccinations are going to come full cycle again. So if that's the case, then and obviously Moderna and Pfizer stock might be something to take a look at. Bond markets are still, still what they are. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not really earning any yield on them, what's the point? So we're not really looking to jump into that market yet, but we're keeping an eye on it. Outside of that, I would say for most, and even for us, we're kind of hanging out, going to have some, family time over the holidays and keep an eye on things. But I think it'll be pretty quiet until we get into, I would say, mid-January, late January next year.
I mean, I think that's usually what happens around this time of the year with the finance industry as a whole. You mentioned last week or 2 weeks ago, you started to mention a little bit about real estate. Do we want to talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah. So what I read this morning and came across this morning is in the beginning of next year or at the next Fed meeting, whatever that is, we're going to get another rate hike. So real estate operates on a lag. In order for the prices to catch up to the rates, right? Because people buy houses based on how much they can afford on a monthly basis, right? Not on the actuality of, hey, how much am I putting into this house? Because if you look at the numbers and you buy a mortgage over a 30-year period of time, you're like paying double to triple the amount of, money goes to that mortgage than the actual value of the home, right?
Right.
So in order for the values to catch up with the monthly affordability, which is how most people buy residential homes, you're probably looking at another 30 to 35% decrease in value. And don't be surprised if the market gets flooded with places come January. I can tell you personally, my wife and I, we're watching it. We're looking at investment properties. We're looking at a new house up north. So it's one of those things where even for us personally, we're just waiting. And we're just getting ready for what we think is going to happen next year. Inventory is low, but I think that's also part of the fact, like in the real estate market, the cycle is really, really slow, and you got to get to the bottom of the barrel with inventory at the end of the year, and then come January, February, March, April, that's sales season. Mm-hmm. So it'll be very, very interesting to see what happens there.
It'll definitely be interesting to see what happens when people are going to need to sell their properties when the traditional market kind of goes down in 2023, like everyone's predicting it will.
So here's the thing, like, and this is across all markets, stocks, bonds, real estate. The shoe hasn't dropped yet,
Right.
right? The shoe hasn't dropped yet. We haven't had that big drop. And it's kind of like, when you have a hurricane hitting in Florida, right? When you're down in Florida, it's eerily calm before the hurricane hits, and boom, right? Man, the markets are eerily calm right now.
Right. They're not really going up, not really going down in the past couple weeks.
Right. I mean, obviously, Alex, that's a little bit different on the crypto side.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Before we get on to the crypto side, I wanted to talk about this digital dollar pilot program that's currently happening through the New York Innovation Center. They're spearheading it, and the banks that are participating in it is BNY Mellon, Citibank, HSBC, MasterCard, BNC Bank, TD Bank, US Bank, Wells Fargo, and I think a couple others. They announced on November 15th that they're going to be doing this digital dollar pilot program. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that and try to explain it a little bit better for our viewers. So do either of you really have an opinion on it? What's your initial 2 cents on the matter?
For anyone out there, pay attention and do your homework. The digital dollar and digital assets is going to happen. The banks have to do it because that's the only way they can stay in business. So, they never pilot something that they're not going to do, right? If they announce that, hey, we're piloting this, that means, hey, guess what? You have about 12 months to adjust to this because we're going.
Right.
And I mean, think about how fast the Federal Reserve can print money then if they don't have to worry about the limitations of paper.
Yep. It's some scary stuff. It's kind of interesting how they can control your money.
Yes, and I think it's very interesting how exposed everything is now and how in the open it is. It's becoming hugely evident that everything is a business. And for everyone that lives in the United States that's listening to this, the United States government, as in has a calculation of the revenue per person of the population. Right? So your life is a business. Like, people need to start waking up to this. There's a reason why Moderna and Pfizer made so much money during COVID. It's interesting. And I've spent a lot of time recently, I don't know why, in retirement communities, trying to help people financially that are retired. I was in the hospital this morning with my mother-in-law who recently, had an event which put her in there, and man, oh man, this is not the retirement people were sold on. And everybody is waking up to this. Everybody. So
give it a few years.
This is going to be a very interesting couple of years, man.
Wait till they figure out Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid trust is in some trouble.
It was funny because you guys know I'm a huge George Carlin fan, right?
Right.
Yep.
The fact that he did his stand-up and then made Thomas the Train, which all my kids loved, is just comical to me, right? And Krieger, you'll be there with your kids soon enough. I mean, little kids love Thomas the Train. In his stand-up, Life is Worth Living, if you look at the American segment, get over the fact where he talks about, people at the beach in the beginning of it. But literally, he hits every single point on the head of the American dream. And he goes, the last line is, they're coming after your Social Security next, and they're coming after your retirement. And son of a gun, they already have it. They have everyone's retirement because Social Security is not going to be there. And they have everyone's retirement because they own, and Wall Street owns, the 401k industry.
Correct.
And I tried to change that industry and innovate it. And trust me, they own it. It's a business. Your future is a business. It's insane. So I just think for everyone out there that's thinking critically about this, man, there are huge opportunities, I think, that are going to come out of it, but it's going to be pretty interesting.
I would agree. I would agree.
So do we think that this overall is going to be a good thing for the future of finance, or overall kind of negative?
I think it'll be good and bad. It's gonna be good to help with fraud, waste, and that type of stuff. More control for the whoever's controlling it, the operators. So it's good and bad, I could say.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever really good and bad either, right? It just is kind of the way it is. But I'm a pretty optimistic person, and I just see what's on the other side of it, I would say. And I think it's going to be massive. I think we're going to get a massive boom. I mean, think about, Isabel was down in at the Bitcoin conference in El Salvador, right?
Right.
Like Bitcoin solves world problems. Like, you are getting essentially money into the hands of people that can't go to a bank. They don't have access to a bank, but they have access to an internet, right?
Right.
So then you're allowing people that have never had the opportunity to participate in economy, the opportunity to participate. And then look, innovation with technology and avenues like YouTube and all sorts of stuff. I mean, the possibilities there could be just phenomenal.
I would agree. My only worry is my parents, your parents, somewhat your generation, where the older generation, where they're, how do I say this? They're stubborn. They don't like change. They don't want to learn this new system, and a lot of them may get left behind.
It's funny you said that, because I was sitting on this one earlier this morning, and I was like, so what had crossed my wire was, in this transformation, we're going to have to figure out how to give people the proper skill sets to participate. But at the same time, man, with the baby boomers and the retirees that were in this system, they worked the hard work, the 9 to 5s. God bless them for doing it, right? Like, figure out how to take care of them and let them go dance off into the sunset, right? And then transition them and say, hey, you know what? Great job. Thank you for everything you did. We're moving into something new, and you'll be taken care of. Don't worry about it. Go have a great time and go party. And if you look at these retirement communities, man, they're big party places. I mean, I've never seen, until recently, I saw an 80-year-old gentleman who was on a walker get off his walker and breakdance. He's trying to impress the ladies. It was unbelievable, right?
That's funny.
But yeah, I think that's part of this transition. I think we're seeing is we're going to have to figure out across the board, right? Like, I hit a rest stop in New Jersey, and it took me almost a half an hour to get a Dunkin' Donuts coffee. It was so mismanaged. So is there an opportunity for robotics to take over, which is already happening in Asia? Absolutely. So you just have to figure out, okay, for the people that aren't going to be able to have the skill set to participate in this, how do we figure it out? Right?
Well, I think that's another part of innovation that's just going to come with it. Like, there will be a place for everybody if they decide they want to be a part of this. They just themselves have to figure out where they belong as well. And when it comes to the older generation, that's where we come in specifically, where like we're here to help and people like us are here to help the older generation either try to understand what's happening or understand it for them and help them move forward.
Right. And like in the hospital this morning, I just look at all the work that the hospital people do, right? Like the nurses that are there, man, those are the hardest working people. They should be making the most money. I'm sorry. Right? Like, they're in the crux and the grind of the day to day with people. So I think also the healthcare industry is going to get completely revamped. Which is something we talk about with our clients.
Right.
And I'm telling you, man, I walk in there and I think every single day, I'm like, I'm wholly focused on making sure that I'm always taking care of myself, because when you walk through and you just look in the rooms, it's heartbreaking sometimes. It's
Right.
hard.
I mean, the healthcare industry is definitely going to change here in the States. I think it's not the only industry that's really going to flip upside down in the United States. I think there's a lot that needs to change when it comes to like the healthcare, the education system, the prison system. So I think that that's just one example of many.
Yeah. And right. And I think, and it ties into investing, right? Like
Right.
we talk about, you're not investing for today necessarily, right? You've already done that. You're investing for tomorrow. So you want to be looking at, okay, we all know that at the end of the day, we don't know what it looks like. We won't know till we get there, but we have a pretty good idea of what's lining up. So if you can get yourself in the right spots, I mean, there's an opportunity to have what live the life you want to live, and have the finances support that.
Right. Another point that I wanted to press on a little bit that you just mentioned is that this digital currency is going to, and Bitcoin as a whole, is really pushing every single human being with an internet connection to participate in the economy, the world economy. And I think that a lot of people forget that that is a big reason why Bitcoin is what it is and why it's going to work and why it's already working so well. I think that's a really interesting point that needs to be hammered in, because there are people who still, every time it takes a dip, people start to doubt, oh, is it going to work? What's the point of this? Is there really anything that this does for us? But in reality, it's helping a lot of people, maybe not necessarily here in the United States, but around the world.
Right. We're not necessarily in the game anymore of chasing returns, if that makes sense, because people are coming to us saying, I want to know where my money's going and what it's doing. Obviously, everyone wants to earn money, but at the same time, there's becoming more of like a human element to it. Like, is this helping? Right.
Mhm.
And that's where in our world, I think it's the biggest change, because we're going to lose a lot of advisors to retirement in a lot of our community just because the game has changed.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
So on that note, why don't we move over a little bit to talk about what we're seeing in the crypto and digital markets? Alex, got the headlines for us?
Yeah, we could talk about the FTX scandal, how some more of how the market is holding up where we are. I've been reading there's a liquidity crunch, meaning there's no more coins to sell. Everyone's holding
Right.
what they have. And what's pretty much, in my opinion, is wash trading, right? They're selling and buying and selling like their own coins, because everyone else is moving theirs off exchanges. There's a lot. It was a mass exodus last week with the whole debacle of FTX, and then now Genesis. A lot of people are pulling their coins off of exchanges, which I am very for. Not your keys, not your coins. Always been very adamant on that. So
I think
Highly
there's some
recommend people moving their cryptocurrencies off their exchanges into either a digital wallet, or if you really can and you know what you're doing, a hard wallet would be perfect.
What about folks that want to get into digital currencies and don't understand what that means and don't know how to hold their own keys or store them themselves?
there's
Talk a little bit
ways
about
we could do it decentralized ways through MetaMask and other ways, which is kind of, it's a wallet, decentralized wallet similar to an exchange, right? Where you can hold your coins offline, off an exchange, and you still own all the keys and everything. You'll have to do some security things where you got to write down a code and memorize your key, and if you lose that, your money's gone. But I know it's scary, but it brings out the personal responsibility in people. I believe that's where we need to go to better everything in our financial world. Is our world needs some more people to take more personal responsibility and stop being hand fed everything and pretty much all that.
Right. And at that point, if people forget their own codes, I think they're going to be less upset than if, let's say, Coinbase were to collapse just like FTX did. But I don't see that happening.
Correct. You got to think, what is the lesser of the twos? Yeah, there's more insurance going through the exchange. More. I don't mean like insurance. How do I? More assurance. Sorry, not insurance. More assurance that it's a big institution, it won't fail or whatever. And with the whole FTFX scandal, look what just happened.
Yeah. Well, I think we all know that the too big to fail is kind of nonsense.
Right.
But I would just say, for anyone out there who has questions on this stuff, give us a shout. Just shoot us a note through our website or through this chat. And if you want to help or connect on any of these things, we're happy to help.
Right. Before we go, do we want to just talk about like, how is Bitcoin and Ethereum doing lately? I saw stuff that Bitcoin's hovering around 16K right now.
Yeah, it's like a double bottom. So we're looking at what happened over earlier this year, May, June, over the summer. We had that big old dip with the Luna and UST debacle. And we hit the lows for my opinion, for the cycle. And now we pumped for a few months back up, and now we're retracing back to hit the double bottom. And then I could see a nice big old W and rinse and repeat.
Right.
On the way back up.
When do you think that way back up is going to start?
I'm hoping for next year, but everything I read is next year is going to be a terrible year for all of finance. Does not matter, right? And I think that could be true. You could have that transition into a new system, right? And everything. So maybe we go sideways here for the next year, maybe till around the summer, fall of next year, and then we start to take off by 2024.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's my personal and what I'm reading.
Ultimately, like it's very hard to predict, especially within cryptocurrency, what's going to happen, because there are times where it feels like it's decoupled from the traditional markets, while sometimes it's like following the exact pattern of what's happening.
Yeah, I think we've seen enough in the past 6 months that, like, Bitcoin, for example, is decoupled from technology.
Right. Oh, definitely.
It's definitely operating independent. It's operating more like gold. There are opportunities to take advantage of over the next couple months in the next year. I think we're really, really big into gold and silver and commodities. I think energy, oil, natural gas, and I think are going to be fantastic. So there will be some opportunities out there, but yeah, I think across the board, next year will be, up, down, sideways, across the board with everything.
Right. Well, I think that's everything that we have today, right?
I think so. I would just say happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there and enjoy the holidays.
Yep. Happy on behalf of Twin Shores Financial, you guys, happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for tuning in on this holiday week. If you enjoyed and want to keep up to date on the markets, please tune in every other Thursday for all of your financial information. Tim, any last words besides that?
No, I don't have anything. Alex, you?
Not your keys, not your coins.
And please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and comment any questions you have down below.